Hello, interested everyone. Welcome to class 11 biology. With this video, we are going to start a new chapter, that is chapter number 15, plant growth and development. Right. So I will just give you an introduction of this particular chapter. Chapter di nalo ngazo kharkola jungle la wimbana plant ki charlong cheda na ani charlong chedu zambalia ani factor khari ki ke me khol effect or digala jungle. So then we will study about the intrinsic factors and extrinsic factors which affects the plant's growth and development. Di nanglo lang azu kim so khargan jangre la wim bana phytohormones, so growth regulators nanglo so khare la wim bana hormones inde yore tensu lang azu khar lagre phytohormones lagre ya mena growth regulators ke lagre di nanglo azu khar kare auxin gibberellin ro ani cytokinin ethylene ani abscisic acid lani so dige kan la jangrta ro ani kan the competitive examination che do this is an important part in the botany section, right? So the so ngazu kharil tagir la bemna plan ki growth the development gal tagirwa. So growth the development ni para la khewa khariore la yimba na development is the sum of two processes, growth and differentiation. The example la growth la khardo development ki chashe jigre do, right? So plants, they all start from a single cell called as zygote. Male gamete the female gamete ni ya zomni thangbu khar chagre zygote la chagre seed nanglo la ni seed nanglo la zygote single cell di ko divide che ni multicellular structure form chigre tin manju khalagre embryo chagre, then embryo ne any cell they get some divide further divide share, and then they attain special functions, right? They attain a permanent and special function, and that is called as differentiation. Wa growth the differentiation chain any plant khali kharchi gre salon che develop cheni, it will develop into a full plant which has got many parts, leaves, stem, roots, flowers. Dige sama yo chawo. So plant ki development process nanglola, it includes both growth as well as differentiation. So the khewa the seu so development this broad sa so growth is part of the development. Okay, so diche growth law imbana khala wore. How can we define growth? So growth can be defined as an irreversible permanent increase in size of an plant's organ, or the parts of the organ, the tissues la or even of an individual cell. So growth la it can range from the increase in size of an organ, its parts, or even of an individual cell. So di lang azu khala wore growth la and it is irreversible, right? Mass gain che khare irreversible chadu wore. For example, expansion of a leaf is growth. Loma jik chunju ne ya cheru chadu gu yomna shanga cheru du gu yobimena di khare re growth re. So diche. And the growth in plants is unique. Ta kejo thangbu de la wor da zishin nanglo ki growth gala keje shewi bena kejo thangbu di growth gala kejo thangbu di khare plants nanglo la simje da manda wegi ani plant ki growth di unique yores ro unique condes yore la wi bena they retain the plants, they retain the capacity of unlimited growth. Plant la thalong che jumara ya grow che di unlimited re, which means their growth is indeterminate. Ta pen cha chana ngazu supu rojila cha sha wi bena ngazu thalong che du zambala khardo, it is determinate in nature. Ro nganzu gi supu ringze do jin bena re ro height in re len lakpe ki length do jin bena re finger ki length do jin bena re nagu ki size che jun do jin bena dige sama khare it is predetermined. It seems as if it is predetermined. Nyane program chisha yoro ala khanjam chpodo ya chalong chen dijela chalong chigmin do. So ngazu gi supu do animals ki supu nanglo la growth is determinate, whereas the growth in plants, it is indeterminate. Plants, they can grow in an unlimited manner. So the kharchin re why the growth of plant is indeterminate in nature. Kharchin re la wimbana, it is due to the presence of a very special tissue called as meristems, which are located at certain locations in their body. Like kiranzu zinda nyama gua da dewa like kiranzu plant gi cells ta nizu gala jangyu yobi bana collenchyma sclerenchyma la kiranzu konyu yugre. So I will just refresh your memory. Right, kiranzu lokteb nanglo la chapter number 2 pa di lo yo na. Any plant gi tissues kan la yor. Tangazu gi plant gi tissues ti desenyi na yawa che chor. We can classify the tissues of the plant into two groups: meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Kunyi para la khewa khariore. Meristematic tissues, they consist of cells which have the capacity to divide, right, and give rise to other cells. So the khare meristematic tissues re. Permanent tissues, they have lost the capacity to divide. Permanent tissues nanglola, the cells they have lost the capacity to divide. They have attained a special function. They have attained a special structure and function, and they cannot divide further. So that is why they are called as permanent tissues. Tingi para kewa de hagosa meristematic tissue law imbana, the cells they have the potential to divide and give rise to new cells. Okay, so the laworda. The meristematic tissue nanglola digmanda ni antidwa. Primary meristems and secondary meristems. And the primary meristems la dige khwal yorila tang ye special locations la yorila so. Primary meristems they are located at apical regions. Plant ki root ki tip ta shoot ki tip la yogi ani meristem ne zulanga zo khala wore apical meristems la. And intercalary meristem la di grasses na yorila sha. So kesi herbivo chi gi and it's such sawa imba na. Sa di pet koroshi rumindo ko yani koni ke yungu do. O ma salon chi do. And the khandis chetu gore law imba na. Ani it is due to intercalary meristems. These type of meristems they are present in between the permanent tissues. Permanent tissue in para layo kyo meristem denzulo khalare intercalary meristems lagre. And primary meristem da primary meristem ki kharchi gore it helps in primary growth. Elongation tang jela la ora. And dijela khare secondary meristem la dizambala khare it is also called as lateral meristems as well. Tinaulo la khare khare yore fascicular cambium, interfascicular cambium, and cork cambium. Okay, so secondary meristems. So these meristems they are found in the trunk penetration plant stem that is now yore. And the hachigore shanga cheruta sishingi shanga jomare girth increase chale pejure. We will see later on. Ani the meristematic tissues che. Ani plant nalola khariore permanent tissue. The permanent tissue the khane chago na meristematic tissue ne chagyorda. Sometimes what happens, a cell which arises from meristematic tissue now your cell then to divide cheni cells khashe kharcha gore they become permanent, they loses the capacity to divide and they become permanent tissues. One konzo plan now supu now ki pranzo lengen khari ne odi chigro and chala yama kia inere plan ki supula structure tia inere di lengen sama chedi then so khari ki chigore permanent tissues then so ki chigore. Any permanent tissues now rigmanda niore simple permanent tissues and complex permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissue law imbana they are simple because they are made up of only one or two types of cells. Tina khare khare law imbana parenchyma, pollenchyma, sclerenchyma lanier. So dige sama khare simple permanent tissues. Complex permanent tissue complex khachin relana they consist of more than two or three types of cells. But tissue dinsu nanglola cell manda ring manda yor. Lega chik chigorta in a cell ki sopta na rig manda yorwa. So complex permanent tissue lare did nalokan's example khari tena degree la bena vascular tissues xylem the film tena degree. So xylem hare chukinyere film khari ki gore food materials yama ki yo. So xylem nanglo component mangu pere. Xylem elements xylem fibers la than is your film nanglo thakara ro. So ko nanglo la cell manda rig manda mangu group sha yo imba they are called as complex permanent tissues. So the plant tissues ki revision quick cheta. Adi na so hare ha go go or la we mana. Plant they have got the capacity of unlimited growth because of the presence of meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissue yoga sonza and plant like hejo khariore their growth is indeterminate. Plant ki growth dikhare indeterminate. They can grow in an unlimited manner. Plants they have the capacity of unlimited growth. Why? Because of the presence of meristematic tissues. Okay, so if we look at the diagram, figure number 15.2, here also na te yo ta wi na de la kharit ne dependent jangu the shoot him bache brown color the root him na tipla shade down your sto na wo dikhare shoot apical meristem re wa dikhare root apical meristem re. So here they have got these meristematic tissues, apical meristematic tissues. Wa di yo bache ani di para de la yang khardo brown color jine yang green color sten do yenzu kharre cell dige line dige sama khare. These are the tissues which are called as vascular cambium, intercalary meristem chadu yo secondary meristem chadu yo so the cells of these meristems they have the capacity to divide and self perpetuate. So khala gore meristematic tissues denzo nanglo cells dige kharre they have the capacity to divide nge thanji laswa and divide chewa ma se they can self perpetuate. So the example de jikte da kesi di nanglo ne cell jik ma tyo wi ba na en chashana root apical meristem ne cell ji ma tyo che. So this meristematic cell it has got the capacity to divide cell chik ni la ma divide chig do and divide chewa ma se cell kharla right it can give rise to a permanent cell, right? So penshashana ta cell chik ni cha so de la cell chik do so meristematic cells they divide, so divide chewa thong so cell chik ni cha so, and they have also got the capacity to self perpetuate, means meristematic cell khora lama so harchi so chik meristematic cell chare chik har chare permanent cell char. Now this permanent cell it has lost the property of cell division and it will perform a particular function. So meristematic cell ne permanent cell cha de nga zo khar lag la wi mana thanji differentiation lag sikchua dire ta nga zo di jero gone ya wushin ta. Okay, so differentiation ta nga di nga zo ti du samare ngomendo. So differentiation lag process the one to store, right? So this particular type of cell, meristematic cell, which has got the potential to divide, right? After its division, sometimes some of the cells they lose the capacity to divide and they become permanent cell. And this particular process is called as differentiation, right? And this is about kharchi permanent cell cha wimba na ko kharcha ru sclerin kaima cha sigre, colon kaima cha sigre, or yamena xylem cha sigre, yamena phylum cha sigre, or parent kaima cha sigre. Di cha wimba na khoranzu mixe ki function jiradu ora. And dilangazu khala differentiation process la orda. Here the meristematic cell remains meristematic cell itself. So this is not called as differentiation. Okay, so ko differentiate cha yure. So diche. Na dende indu zambala meristematic cell divide chani permanent cell cha wimba na permanent cell ya add chigi ro. Di indu zambala plant chalong chigi ro. So dilangazu khala la plant growth la so the growth dikhande yong sigre it can happen in two directions. Shoot apical meristem da root apical meristem ki kharchi gore plant ki length increase chi gore length increase chi gore ani vascular cambium da interfascicular cambium la den zu ki kharchi gore ani plant ki shanga girth increase chi gore so the 조단지 민두에 딜랑 아주 가르려 그래 open form of growth layer. So open form of growth layer 아주 가르려 오르 라비면은 the form of growth wherein new cells are always been added to the plant body by division of meristematic cells. Meristematic cell divide che didu zambala 가지래 cell sawa add che di로 cell sawa add che 되면은 plant 수부 grow 요에 임버와 the growth che the process 들 가르려 오르 라비면은 open form of growth layer. So open form of growth la type manda ni yore primary growth and secondary growth. Kesi growth ya chalong chigi ya longu yobi mena. If the plant is getting elongated along its axis, right? Ko ya chalong che ma ting ring ma zuru yobi mena root ma ring ru do be mena ting na ma zuru re shoot ya long we mena tharang bu ya longu ro. So the growth share de la mazu khala ore primary growth la ore. So apical meristems leads to the elongation of the plant along their axis. Ya long eta ma long h mindwe axis ka le pa long h to elongate che to di la mazu khala ore primary growth la ore. Whereas shanga cheru do jo mare ti su gi chigo ore la wi na cambium kok cambium la tanjing azu lateral meristem yo lateral marta lateral meristem lateral meristems dige ro harchi gore plant gi girth increase gore shanga chiru dang gore dilang azu khala gore secondary growth shingdong dia lo chi ya chalong che sa je la pan je la shanga chiru du do ye khare secondary growth ye khare gi kembe chung gore na meristematic cell metric khare gi meristematic cell re lateral meristematic such as vascular cambium or cambium dezu gi kembe gi plant shanga chiru du gore dila khala gore secondary growth la clear chung so dije keju niwa de thangbu plan thangbu de khari embe plan gi growth dikhare indeterminate race ti khari gi kembe la na meristematic cell yobe gengi re la ro meristematic tissue yobe gengi ro and now la open form of growth race open form of growth la type manda ni yore primary growth and secondary growth. I am plant gi growth keju chi shimba ji khare la wimbe na the growth is measurable plant gi growth also measure chetu race ro and if you look at the cellular level is cell chik la ta wimbe na thabung chik la ta wimbe na chi shingi the contest growth chi yong azu ha ku re la wimbe na the growth happens due to increase in the amount of protoplasm. Protoplasm increase chave kengi and plant the growth go. So protoplasm is nothing but cell membrane nanglo yoyo ki content choro dilanga zo khale protoplasm le cytoplasm plus nucleus nucleoplasm yoyo dige sang malanga zo khale protoplasm la Raw. But protoplasm condense measure chigimbe. Increase in the amount of protoplasm measure chia this khaboyor. Tin example la manzo khachigre. We take indirect method of measuring growth. So the kharij condense measure che ture. A growth in the plant can be measured by measuring the increase in the fresh weight. Like you say those tabi imba na. Ko ya salon che example la ko gi chize de more duro. Fresh weight. And kisi ya dry weight tane digre. Weight without the content of water. Carbon khazus add che tu do. Chu gaji ma tuen. Ani ko gi jize na lol khewa khazu drosha. Dita wim bana ngazu gi growth measure che tu re. And then we can also measure the length. Length increase che na yang grow che yo tung grow. Measure the increase in area. That is also a measure measured for plant growth. And volume and cell number as well. The example khashish ter kyans loktem na lol. Example ni rumuni ter di khare lawim bana. Root apical meristem in a maize. Root apical meristem in a maize nana magen la warda. It can give rise to hazurdo 17,500 new cells per hour. Chuzur chig na lola. Magen gi root apical meristem chigi. Cell khazu sawa soture la wimban. It can give rise to 17,500 new cells in an hour. Pe joboro. Pe jogo. This is a measure of growth. Cell number. Cell number ka chidara example chesa do. And then cells in a watermelon, it can increase in size up to 350,000 times or 350,000 times. Size increase chigor cell. Watermelon na yo yung tarbuza la dro. So that is increase in volume and area na do. So shimba khari example chair la pollen tube ma thungumidwe. So this is a pollen grain. This is a pollen grain and this is a pollen tube. Pollen tube ma tangdo pollen grain gi di khare pollen tube the elongate chigdo. So that is also a measurable thing, right? We can measure the growth of a pollen tube by measuring the length of the tube. Okay, so di khare length ka example cha so. And again surface area loma ji grow chigyo bi ba na ko shanga chiru du yo bi ma na ko area de chiru du yo na. That is also a measurable thing. Plant growth measure chegi basis to cha du do. So that is area, area cha so. Okay, so plants growth is measurable. That is the second property. Okay, ta growth gala do continuous ke share by na plant ki growth la phases yore stages or phases. Plant ki growth la phase khajo yore. There are three phases of growth. Three phases of growth the khare re la by na meristematic phase, elongation phase and maturation phase. Meristematic phase la do bala khalo ore the area in which there is meristematic cells, and these cells they are constantly dividing, right, both at the root apex and the shoot apex. It represents the meristematic phase of growth. Wow. And this cell dige khare meristematic cell dige mixe khare ore la wim na. These cells they are rich in protoplasm and they possess conspicuous nanongosu de la gorda conspicuous nuclei konsu nanglo le yo ki nucleus tin song pe ngosu de yor chimbu che ngosu de. And their cell walls are thin with abundant plasmodesmata connections. Plasmodesmata the lyomar okay connection ma. So the meristematic phase re ni parte of imba na kiran zu de figure number 15.3 na lola area ki tip jo mare the tip ni mouse yo di khare meristematic phase penetration na senji ne root ma chalong chi yo cha root ma sabul ma ziru yo cha ki growth phase meristematic phase the koyor delior meristematic phase delior dina khaji in meristematic phase la or la bana because root apical meristem is present over here and it consists of meristematic cells, and meristematic cells they are constantly dividing. So a b c d la din zo khare la bana di kana ma do sta a b c d la di khare la bana niwadre phase niwadi the phase niwadi khare elongation phase. So the cells proximal and wall la gorda. The cells just adjacent proximal and just adjacent ke la sigre amena wall la sigre. The cells proximal to the meristems they represent the phase of elongation, right? So the meristem delimba. So meristematic phase show marwe. The proximal na khare a b c d din zure do. So ine chini 디파도 요교기 사저저와 딜랑아주 칼로레 elongation zone 와. 이 당보디 가리매 메리스템이 봐. 디 가래 elongation. Okay. So this is a elongation phase. Right. Elongation phase now what happens? The meristematic cells they have divided and they have given rise to permanent cells. Right? Permanent tissue give rise to. So permanent tissue they start to elongate. Plant cells they will start to elongate. So the cells proximal to the meristems, which represent elongation phase, the cells of these regions they exhibit increased vacuolation, right, and cell enlargement. Cell dige cheru duor cheru khajin duor lana kogi nanglo lo yogo gi vacuole dunzo gi cheru duor plant cell nanglo zo vacuole yor line ba. We studied about vacuoles present in the plant cells. Plant cells they have got large vacuoles. Animal cells they have got very small vacuoles. Okay, so uh, in the elongation phase, the cells of the elongation phase 먼저 가르치고 그래. vacuole 눈도 빼침부 차고. 뒤 누잠발라 cell 나로 그 vacuole 체로 도비면 cell 코란 쏟다고 체로 도로. 가지는 about 90% of the internal volume is covered by vacuole. 뒤에 나서 오늘 루슬라임 봐. 80 to 90% 가리기 occupy 체니 샤워에 vacuole 게 occupy 체니 샤기와. तो vacuole 체로 도비면 plant की cell की size के 체로 도에 이버로 cell enlargement, right, as well as there is formation of new cell wall tour door or cell wall deposition. So the elongation phase. So this is elongation phase. 다 단대 살롱 제외 인바이나 와다 EFG lash to. So denzo 가르쳐 그래. They will form the maturation phase. And in the maturation phase, the cells of this phase they are observed in the region proximal to the elongation phase, and the cells of this zone they attain their maximal size, and they obtain particular function. They also obtain particular function. So the kachigore maturation phase now the region jiro in all they have attained their maximum size. They won't able to grow anymore, right? And they have also differentiated in a way that they have attained a particular function called langue khariyobi mene xylem the film change din sama xylem the film cha rure ani structure tenge gi ani khare sclerin kaima da den sangma dinalo yo korangora cha yungure ro, and colin kaima da parent kaima den konzo living cells ro. So denzo ge de la korangora lengen le yungur. So these cells they have grown maximally, or they have attained their maximum size, and they have also obtained their particular function as well. So this is so plant growth now phase sumdo meristematic phase in which the cells they are continuously dividing, elongation phase in which the cells they are increasing in size due to increased vacuolation, and then we have maturation phase where the cells they have attained their maximum size and then they have started to function. So that is a little bit about growth. We will continue talking about growth in the next video. We will talk about growth rates and conditions for growth. So please read these two sections. Growth rates, the conditions of growth, like section the law, before you watch the next video, right? I will also send you a lecture by that particular lady teacher. 어디 지구지견진이 denzugan le tango 어디다 어디 하고 고마 수업 인바나 I will also send you my own video. Okay, 벽에 돈 라고 인바나 디시하고 고추에 그래바로주. Okay.